Jeff Passan just dropped a bombshell Red Sox report on the Pat McAfee show this morning, saying why the Red Sox have had so much success as of late and delivering some huge trade updates on the Sox. We'll tell you what Passan said and all the latest right here on a Red Sox Digest. Welcome everybody, I'm Jace Andrews. We appreciate you tuning into the show today. Man, oh man, it feels good to go into the All-Star break on a 10-game win streak. We should do this more often. We get to sit back now, rest, relax, and watch the Home Run Derby, watch the All-Star game with full confidence and comfortability with our team heading into the second half. We can also watch Jeff Passan talk some Sox on the Pat McAfee show. We'll tell you what he said and why this is so huge on the trade front in just a moment. But before that, I want to say a quick thank you to all of our subscribers here on the channel. We recently hit 3,500. We're on the road now to 4,000. And I just want to say I cannot thank you enough for the growth that we have seen over the past month. In fact, we are now the fastest growing Red Sox channel on all of YouTube. So if you're new for that matter, hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss what we have coming up. Obviously, with the trade deadline so much, our content is just going to get better and increase. Now let's talk about Jeff Passan, because this morning he appeared on Pat McAfee. Of course, with the Home Run Derby today, it was a big talk about baseball at the Pat McAfee show. He's in Atlanta talking with everybody. And Passan talked about the Red Sox, and you're going to want to hear what he had to say. Here's the first quote we have, which he says, quote, "I picked the Red Sox to win the AL East before the season, and in early June, I was standing by them. And here's why. Because they have been an incredibly talented team the entire time. Sometimes it takes 100 games to figure out who you are," end quote. Which he's completely right. It takes some time to figure out what type of team you're going to be. And quite frankly, that's what happened with the Boston Red Sox this year. They just were kind of fiddling around, never could figure out their footing, were losing countless amounts of one-run ball games, and it just was not a winning standard in Boston. And it hasn't been that way for the past 4 years. So it is going to take some time to try and put that back into the organization. Well, whether you like it or not, the trade of Rafael Devers happened, and the Red Sox have built momentum from that in some ways. And now, of course, going into the All-Star break on a 10-game winning streak, you feel very confident about this team, especially since Jeff Passan also talked about potentially getting some additions, which we'll go to that in just a moment. But here is also a quote he said, kind of following up, saying, quote, "They have gotten healthier at this point. Alex Bregman coming back is going to make it even better. And now we're going toward the July 31st trade deadline, and all eyes are going to be on the Sox," end quote. Okay, so he gives us a little treat there, a little nibble of what's to come, of what he's about to say when he says, listen, the trade deadline's coming, and we got eyes on the Red Sox because they're going to be making some moves. Now, before I show you what he said, I do want to pull up a tweet because this is how he ended his Boston Red Sox segment. Quote, "The Boston Red Sox are the team in baseball right now." When Jeff Passan calls you the team of baseball at the All-Star break, you have got to be feeling good. And now, I've made you wait long enough. Let's go look at what Jeff Passan said about the MLB trade deadline and the Boston Red Sox. It's 2 quotes, so hang on for a second. Here we go with the first one. Quote, "Aroldis Chapman going nowhere. Alex Bregman going nowhere. They're going to add. And if they get another starting pitcher who can be at the top of that rotation with Garrett Crochet, Brayan Bello pitching so well, Lucas Giolito, the Boston Red Sox are legitimate World Series contenders," end quote. You didn't hear from me. You heard it from Jeff Passan. You can take my bias out of this. Jeff Passan just called the Boston Red Sox ready to buy at the trade deadline for a starting pitcher and legitimate World Series contenders. The last time the Red Sox won 10 games was in 2018. In fact, it was at the same time going into the All-Star break. This is a playoff caliber team. The last time they had won 9 straight was 2021. Guess what they did that year? American League Championship Series. And quite frankly, I have my opinions, and I'm not going to get in a soap opera here and tell you why, but they could have won that 2021 ALCS and been in the World Series had just a couple of things fallen their way. And I'm not going to get it, whatever. But either way, this is a playoff caliber team, and Jeff Passan thinks it's a World Series caliber team. Now, I want to go back to the first quote because this is the big one when it comes to trades. Aroldis Chapman going nowhere. Okay, Big thing there. There was talk of Chapman getting traded. He's not going anywhere. Alex Bregman going nowhere. We kind of knew that to this point. They're going to add. And if they can get another starting pitcher who can be at the top of their rotation. So let's go with that. Starting pitcher at the top of their rotation. I've got 4 pitchers that have been linked to the Boston Red Sox or slash the MLB trade deadline and kind of put them up for, let's say, a pick one type deal here. So I'm going to put 4 pitchers up on the screen. We're going to talk about them each individually about why they would be good for the Boston Red Sox and kind of what trade packages would be and why maybe one trade package is better than the other. And then in the comment section, I want you to pick your top pitcher. Maybe it's one of my 4, maybe it's somebody that I didn't talk about, but either way, we're going to have a list of pitching guys we can go after at the trade deadline in this comment section. Let's talk about our first guy, which is none other than somebody that I have been vying for a while, and it's somebody we've mentioned on the show, Sandy Alcantara, or Alcantara, whatever you want to say. He has definitely not had a year that you would expect from a pitcher of his level. Obviously, winning the Cy Young back in 2022, then having Tommy John in 2023, missing all of 2024. Now here in 2025, his ERA is not great, 7.22. His last couple starts have definitely been better, but he has not been the Sandy Alcantara that we know and have seen before in the past. So, for that reason, the big thing with him is I don't think a ginormous package would be needed for Sandy Alcantara. That is why I keep listing him, because is his stats amazing? No. But is he a pitcher who you would have control of until the end of the 2027 season, who has legitimate ace potential, and you pair him up with Garrett Crochet, Brayan Bello, and Lucas Giolito? This rotation could be huge. Now, the reason why I put him first is because I see this more unlikely given the season that he's having. And at one point when the Red Sox were kind of in between buyers and sellers, he seemed like a better option, specifically because he was going to be a low price and low risk. At this point, high risk. At this point, I'm not the one in a high risk pitcher. I want a guy who I know is going to come in here and be a part of this rotation, be a solid number 2-3. Because Garrett Crochet is the ace. But if you can add, like Passan said, a top line starter. So I'm thinking a number 2 on a team, or a number 2 that would be for the Red Sox, somewhat of that nature. Because honestly, right now, Giolito and Bello are kind of fighting for that number 2 spot. If we can add a third number 2 to that area, and we have literally Garrett Crochet, and then pitchers 2, A, B, and C as our 2, 3, 4, it'd be incredible. So that's our first option, is Sandy Alcantara. Our second option is a guy who is on a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I feel would be a very good option for the season he is having. 4.59 ERA, Andrew Heaney. He started out his year very, very solid. In the past couple starts, / more recently, he's been a little bit different, but if you want to look at overall ERAs for Brayan Bello and Lucas Giolito, they're kind of the opposite. They started low ERA, they started high ERA, and now they are more in the lower ERA. Andrew Heaney started out with like a 2.6 ERA and has gotten that up a little bit. His win-loss percentage, I don't even care about because he plays for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but he's only allowed 18 home runs and 73 strikeouts with 90 hits allowed. His whip, pretty solid at 1.255. I would like to see a deal for him because it would, quite frankly, be a cheap one. He is going to be a rental option for this season. You can do a lot with him in so many different manners, and I wouldn't mind seeing him given his flame-throwing ability and how much the fastball has really kind of jumped into this Red Sox pitching rotation. Especially you talk about Kyle Harrison waiting in the wings in AAA. Don't know exactly what the Red Sox plan is for him just yet. Andrew Heaney, kind of the similar prospect to Kyle Harrison when he came up. Fastball was great. It was just about finding other pitches that you could mold in there to make him a solid full starter. So Andrew Heaney is a guy that I thought was good to bring up just because simply he is a rental option, and there's not a lot of those that would be available to the Boston Red Sox. This guy is somebody the Red Sox have been linked to. In fact, it was linked to really recently, and definitely would be a very, very good starting pitcher that would for sure make the Red Sox one of the best rotations in the American League. It's Joe Ryan, who is not even 30 years old, and this year has a 2.72 ERA. When it was all said and done, he is an MLB All-Star and is in Atlanta for the All-Star festivities right now. He only has allowed 12 homers, 121 strikeouts to 77 hits, and a .915 whip. Joe Ryan would be the dime a dozen trade that the Red Sox would want to go after, and that was a big talk. Now, have talks between the Minnesota Twins and Red Sox fallen down? Yes, to my knowledge, because specifically the Minnesota Twins realize what they have in Joe Ryan, and they have team control for the next 2 years. So I don't know if they're willing to give him up just yet. But if they get to a point where they're out of the playoff race, that becomes a lot more of an option. So Joe Ryan could definitely be a pitcher we could see for the Boston Red Sox. But this last guy was actually mentioned on the Pat McAfee show by one of the Boston Red Sox fans who was on the panel there. And it is none other than Mitch Keller, who, again, similarly to Andrew Heaney on the Pirates, he has a little bit more control to my knowledge. I think it's just one more year on his deal. But either way, an ERA below 4, in fact, below 3.5 at 3.48, 109 hits allowed, the 92 strikeouts, a whip at 1.143. He is a very solid starting pitcher that, again, would kind of be like a middle of the line. Like, he's not going to cost you as much as Joe Ryan, but he's not going to cost you as little as Andrew Heaney because a little bit more control, a little bit better of a pitcher. In that case scenario, Mitch Keller fits the vibe for the Boston Red Sox for a multitude of reasons, along with his pitch arsenal being something that Andrew Bailey really likes, because he was a big guy, and if you don't have a power fastball, we're not really going to use it all that much. We're going to use finesse over, anything else. Now, I say that when I talk about the latest aspect of the pitching game that has improved has been the fastball. Like Brayan Bello has gotten his fastball back. Garrett Crochet's fastball has been impeccable, obviously. Talk about Aroldis Chapman and the way he's been able to locate his fastball this season as to previous years. It would be a very interesting guy for Mitch Keller to come in and try and work with the Red Sox. So those are my 4 starting pitchers that I can see the Red Sox going out and trading for. For that reason, let's get in the comment section. Let me know. Is one of those 4 guys somebody you'd like to see? Is there somebody that I didn't mention? A Zach Gallen, maybe, that would go out there and be good to get? There's a couple other names on the trading block, but these are the guys that I'm like 99% sure are going to get traded. Andrew Heaney, Alcantara, and Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan, maybe. If he gets traded, it would be to the Red Sox. But these are some guys that are definitely on the trading block, and the Red Sox have shown some interest in at some point in this season, whether it be all the way back in spring training or more recently like Joe Ryan. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Obviously, very exciting time, especially with the way Jeff Passan talked about the Boston Red Sox. I'm just going to put this up one more time just because I like to see it. The Boston Red Sox are the team in baseball. The MLB hates to see it. We're coming for that World Series championship. We're coming for that trophy. Where is it? I had it up. There it is. Let's go look at this World Series trophy. This could be ours. I need another one. Be a little great. Whatever. I want another World Series trophy. I know everybody else does, and hopefully we're able to at least make it to the playoffs and make a good run this year, and we can build off that and get a World Series trophy, if not this year, in the coming years. We appreciate you watching, guys, and we'll see you next time here on Red Sox Digest. Peace out, everybody.